For many people, religion or spirituality involves embracing some belief or beliefs, and that choosing of a belief system and perhaps some moral practices, some practice of basic morality is the sum and total of their religion, and they hope after death that living a good life according to those beliefs will result in some kind of reward. Within the Hindu umbrella, which is a vast array of beliefs and practices, that idea is not so common. The basic question is, what is there a need for spirituality or religion at all? Many Western secular type persons claim that a humanistic caring for others is enough, and there's no need to posit any metaphysical reality or seek to know that. And if that's true for you, that's fine. Go your way in peace. But for some people, for many people, the idea that this physical world is all there is doesn't satisfy. It's not enough. And in Tantra, we would say that's because in your deepest core of existence, in your deepest being, you are much more than what you normally perceive yourself to be. And it's this inner reality that keeps pushing you, so to speak, toward greater and greater understanding and an expanded awareness of who you are. And this process happens quite organically. At some point, it becomes a conscious process where you go, I want to learn more about spiritual realities. And then you may seek out some kind of spiritual path. Now, why Tantra specifically? Well, for one thing, Tantra is both life and sex positive. In other words, it doesn't say you need to turn away from the world and its many delights necessarily, although it's okay if you feel moved to do that. If you find that useful, then by all means do that, because Tantra is above all pragmatic rather than dogmatic. So whatever works for you works, and that's fine. That becomes part of your practice. However, Tantra is not just an amalgamation of random practices. There is a systematic approach to practice. Practice with what purpose? The purpose is to know yourself, big S, that is capital S. To know the self, the universal self, the true self, universal self. So, which is also known as enlightenment or illumination, to realize God is also, that's one way of thinking about it. So this idea of realizing God, this is a little different from people raised in Abrahamic religions, the ordinary forms of Abrahamic religions. You don't learn that your purpose in practicing religion is to realize God here and now, as opposed to after death. And there's often very little in the way of systematic technology, I'll call it, spiritual technology to help you realize that, because it's not even acknowledged as a goal. But within Tantra, it's very much front and center as the goal. The realization of God or self is the goal of Tantra. And all of the practices that have been gathered together in Tantra from the ancient traditions of yoga and Vedanta and indigenous practices, anywhere that there was something useful and pragmatic, something that could actually help you progress toward self-realization or God-realization, was adopted, and if it works, it's maintained. So in that sense, Tantra is a very practical and appealing system, and there's nothing in it of dogma that says you have to believe anything at all. In fact, belief by itself is not very useful. Faith, however, is useful. And when we talk about faith or shraddha, we're talking, first of all, about faith in yourself. If other human beings have achieved enlightenment, then to have faith that you can also do that is an important prerequisite to the path. Why would you take up a practice if you didn't think you could be successful? You may not know that yet. You don't know it. But Tantra says you will know it by continuing to practice, if you practice correctly. So not only will you know that enlightenment is possible, that you will achieve that in time, at the right time. So Tantra provides graded methods for realization. And by graded methods, I mean it doesn't ask you to jump from the ground floor to the roof of the building in a single bound, as some systems do. The Dalai Lama talks about Zen Buddhism in relationship to Tantric Buddhism, exactly those terms. He says in Zen, you're asked to leap from the ground to the roof in a single bound, which is a rather fantastic feat. Some people are actually capable of that. And if you are, super, practice Zen. But if you prefer to take the stairs up to the roof, then Tantra is a more appealing approach. It takes you from where you are right now, who you think you are, who you experience yourself to be at this moment, and trains your mind, trains your understanding to take steps toward higher and higher toward the roof. And those steps come organically out of who you are through practice. And the word for practice in Tantra is sadhana. Sadhana. Sadhana means spiritual practice in all of its various types. And as we discussed previously, there are two main styles of practice, ascetic and ecstatic, and both of them are useful and necessary to be successful.